Hi, YouTube family. Welcome back to Recording Movies Recap. Today I will show you a 2010 drama film titled Lock Up. In Spain, single father Luis is having trouble with Fran, his teenage son. Fran is rude, disobedient, violent, and just a general pain in the rear. He smokes and drinks a lot, plays hooky, insults his dad, blames him for his mother leaving them when he was a baby, and stays up late on the computer chatting with his friends while making enough noise to keep Luis awake when he needs to rest before going to work. Luis tries to communicate with his son, reminding him that he needs to be responsible if he wants to have a future, but Fran never pays attention to his father's worry and stress. Most of Fran's time is spent with his best friends Nuria and Miguel, and Nuria becomes the girl Fran has his first time with. When they're done, Nuria mentions love between them, but Fran quickly disappoints her by saying they're just friends with benefits and not an actual relationship. Meanwhile, Fran's stress keeps getting worse when he receives some worrisome calls at work. First, Fran's teacher asks him for a meeting so they can talk about Fran constantly missing classes. A few days later, he gets a call from the hospital because Fran and Miguel have gotten in a fight. When Luis goes to pick up his son, Miguel's parents ask him to control Fran because he's being a horrible influence on his friends. Luis scolds Fran for his behavior and tells him he'll start coming to the store to work, but Fran answers by kicking the car and punching his father before fleeing. On Fran's 17th birthday, the boy steals money from his father and leaves the house after drinking wine to celebrate at a club with his friends. He's having a great time, but the evening puts a bad taste in his mouth when he finds Nuria kissing another guy. Meanwhile, Luis is alone in the house with the cake he had bought for his son. After blowing the candles himself, he decides he's had enough and searches the internet for a solution. This is how he discovers Simca, a correctional center that specializes in rowdy teenagers. Luis watches a bunch of videos where parents share their experiences. They also had sons and daughters that misbehaved and even hit them, but Simca took their little rebels and transformed them into well-mannered, responsible students. Luis only stops watching when he hears Fran come back. The boy is upset and almost goes to his father to talk about it, but in the end, he prefers to go to bed. The next day, Fran goes to a Simca presentation to get a better idea of how they work. The host talks to the public about family values and bad parenting in a boisterous yet charismatic way, almost like a religious pastor, and it's very effective because the public easily chants back the answers to his questions without hesitation. In the meantime, Fran insults him for betraying him and hangs up before calling Nuria, but instead of being direct and asking for a friendly ear, he insults her too for having kissed another guy. Nuria reminds him he was the one that didn't want anything serious, so Fran hangs up on her too. Later that day, Luis finally takes his decision, and when night falls, two strangers kidnap Fran. The boy cries out for help, but Luis just tells him it's for his own good. Fran arrives at Simca in the morning and insults Principal Oscar when he approaches him to welcome him. Oscar won't accept this attitude and pushes Fran against the wall, reminding him he will have to be respectful here if he doesn't want to be punished. Then Fran gets new generic clothes and his head shaved before he joins his fellow teenage boys, who welcome him by standing up and chanting a welcome phrase at the same time like soldiers. While watching an instructional video, Fran tries to talk to one of the boys, but this only gets the group to stand up again and repeat the rules about silence and respect. There's something very particular about them. Most of them have a brown mark on the skin under their chins. Afterward, Fran goes through his first day of what will become his daily routine at Simca. The boys spend the morning making clothes pins to learn the value of hard work, have lunch at noon, then go back to either more pin making or doing exercise. They also go through regular medical checkups and sessions of video behavior lessons. Meanwhile, Luis finally has time to relax and enjoy peace at home, but he does think about Fran, so he sends him a box full of gifts including a water bottle. When the box arrives at Simca though, Fran is allowed to look at it but not to keep it. Among the activities at Simca, There also are therapy sessions that Fran is obliged to attend. All the boys share how hard things are in their lives, so Fran takes the chance to complain about his father for having sent him to this place, thinking he's the kind of man that pushes people away when he doesn't want to hear them, and that's probably what he did to his mother too. However, after some words from the doctor, Fran admits he does miss his dad. Later in the teacher's lounge, Oscar reminds all the instructors that the free day is coming soon and explains to newcomer Nando what it is about. For one day, all rules are put aside and they allow the teens to have some fun at a small party. This helps them build up their trust in their system. Nando is skeptical, but uses the chance to offer some complaints, believing it's unfair for the instructors to eat as badly as the teens do and lamenting the lack of hot water. However, Oscar doesn't pay these complaints any mind. It seems being ignored leaves Nando in a bad mood because later during dinner, he sees one of the boys eating slowly and freaks out. That same day, the support group is also having a party. Luis attends, but the news about Sandra's death and Luz's guilt are still in his mind, so he decides to leave without even talking to anyone. Sometime later, Luis visits Luz, who is still grieving and blaming herself for what happened to her daughter. Luis comforts her and promises to go pick up Fran, which Luz finds relieving to hear. Once he arrives at Simca, Luis is terrified to see the state Fran is in and asks Nando what they did to him, but the only answer he gets is what you requested. Fran doesn't even say hello to his father and stays silent during the whole ride home, but he does call Nuria when he arrives so they can meet. Nuria offers sympathy and a gentle embrace that Fran finds comforting. Going to their daily lives isn't easy. Fran behaves and doesn't drink anymore, but he never stays in a room when his father is around. At some point, Fran even takes out all the decorations and old knickknacks from his bedroom because he can't stand the sight of them. Some days, he also likes to put his head out the window and scream profanities. Luis brings him a new cell phone as a reward for his good behavior, but Fran turns it down and gives his dad the water bottle back too, demonstrating that his feelings can't be bought with his gifts. One day, while they're cooking together, Fran finally snaps and yells at his dad for having sent him to Simca. However, he admits he made a mistake, but everything he's done has always been for the sake of Fran's well-being. After his wife abandoned him merely because she wanted to enjoy life instead of raising a kid, Luis had to deal with raising Fran on his own. Being a single dad is already a hard task, but Fran's attitude made it even harder. Luis worked hard to give Fran as many opportunities as possible, but Fran kept wasting them, and eventually stress took its toll on Luis. He had thought Simca was an actual solution, but had he known the horrors that happened between those walls, he would have never sent Fran there. Luis is tired of hiding his own suffering, and ends up crying as he tells Fran how much he loves him, making Fran cry as well. Sometime later, Luis goes to see his ex so can finally have the papers that give him full custody of Fran signed, although Fran decides to wait in the car because he doesn't want to meet his mom. Once he has the papers in hand, Luis is too emotional to keep on driving, so he stops the car to take a moment to put himself together under the rain. Feeling bad for his dad, Fran leaves the car and hugs Luis tightly. A few days later, father and son are together enjoying a vacation on the beach as they begin to mend their relationship. Thanks